So this is going to be a very special conversation about dreams. We haven't had any conversations about dreams.
I'm very honored about that. Yeah, thank you. Hope I can live up to it. Yeah.
And I have been so looking forward to talking to you because I don't know anybody else, I don't think, who's kept a dream journal since the age of 13?
I started a little at 8.
But that is so amazing to me.
When I was like 13, 14, that's when I started like getting more serious about it. I used to just have a notepad. I would, because I used to sleep. My brother and I had a bunk beds, and so there's a desk right by mine, so I could just reach down and grab something and write on it. So, yeah. Hopefully it's good.
What inspired that at such a young age? Did your parents ask you about your dreams, or did they pay attention to dreams?
My dad had a discussion about how you, I guess the difference between dreaming in color and black and white.
Really?
So I guess that got me thinking about it. But I don't know. I think I was I think I was probably just trying to remember a dream once, and I decided to write it down. So I don't really remember why I started doing it. Just started doing it, and then it evolved. So I started doing it like on my phone. So I have some on my phone and an old app, my Windows phone that I used to use too. So there was a period where I was just traveling around the country for a year, and so I just kind of wrote them down if I'd wake up on someone's couch or something like that. So it's evolved, but I don't know what led to starting it.
Did you have a sense when you were a kid that the dreams had meaning, that they were telling you something or expressing something?
I think so, yeah. My dad would, he'd often talk about how he would like go to sleep and he would wake up and have like a math problem or something figured out. And that happened to me a few times actually, where I'd go to sleep, I'd wake up and I'd have something. So I definitely think that your mind's still working in the subconscious. So yeah, I do think it is. And they're also just entertaining.
It's wonderful that, and now, as a grown-up, you still have that same feeling of their being entertaining and maybe having a message.
Yeah, that's actually why I got to go home and sleep for like 2 weeks, and I was pretty excited because when I go to sleep, I'm something fun's gonna happen. So, that kind of thing. So especially sometimes when you're too tired to reflect. Sometimes I like to reflect a lot. I wrote a book about kind of transcendental reflection and stuff, and so sometimes you're just working so much. Sometimes your dreams are like your reflection of like what's happening. So
I like that way of thinking about it, that dreams are another way of reflecting on your experience.
I think they're great, and I think sometimes they also push you into a direction that I think you need to go. Like there's one dream that I remember certain bits of it, not the whole thing entirely, but I remember waking up at the end like a voice in my head, saying like you're missing out, and I just knew I had to stop the nonprofit I was doing in Ohio and move to New York in a weird way. So actually through a dream is actually what led me here actually. So I kind of figured that like I'm not a genius in anything, but I should probably follow my instincts, and so the dream told me to come here. So I guess not inadvertently, but yeah. So.
Well, I'm so glad that it did and that I got to meet you. You were going to tell me about a recurring dream that you've had all your life, or?
Yeah, I think it started as early as I can remember. So I think I might have had it when I was 7, actually, but certainly by 8, and then I had it through 18. I think it's the last time I can remember I had it. And
as you tell it to me,
okay,
maybe we could see if you could sort of feel into it. Just let it be here. Let it.
Okay.
Let it come into the room, into our bodies, and I'm going to share it with you because dreams are something to share.
Absolutely.
And feel it also. And
okay. I just as a preference, whenever I usually dream, I figured this out when I was like going back through some of the things, but I kind of dream simultaneously in like a kind of a third-person overview of like watching yourself happening, but also in a first-person sense as well. So usually I get both angles from that.
Wow! So you dream from the third person looking at yourself and the first person being yourself at the same time.
Yeah. And so it usually starts off more as like a third person, kind of a surrounding. So I guess the dream it always starts off in a very wooded, like kind of alpine forest with no snow. It's like a temperate climate, but kind of the Pacific Northwest. But just a canopy of trees.
And you're seeing them from above, or?
Yeah, above. So maybe 200 or 300 feet above the trees. Some birds flying. It's a canopy of trees, and then it eventually, and then it kind of moves over and kind of like almost like if a drone was like flying over these trees, and then eventually a highway comes through, but it's an elevated highway, so you can't see, at no point can you see the, I guess the forest floor or a road. It's just this kind of elevated 3-lane highway surrounded by trees. And then there's a white Nissan Maxima driving down it. My father's driving in the front. I'm in the back seat. This is where it kind of moves into a first person, and then I'm looking out the back of his Nissan Maxima.
So it comes down into you, and then you feel yourself.
Yeah. I can see
car.
hands, and it had this tan leather interior, so you could see kind of actually like this chair, kind of just lighter. And looking out the back, and then it switches back to third person, kind of this overarching view, and there's in the distance is a bear running on the highway, coming at us. And as it gets closer and closer, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Wow. And then eventually, I'm telling my dad to go faster, but not in a hurried way though.
You're telling your dad to go faster.
Drive, yeah. At no point does he speak.
Drive faster, you're saying.
But only, twice, and not in a hurried state. I think everything's remarkably calm. The bear keeps getting closer and closer and closer and closer until it is kind of over the car, and then it just stops.
And then the dream stops.
Over. Yeah.
Wow.
And I've probably had that dream, haven't counted, but somewhere between 20 and 30 times.
At different points in your life, from the age of 7 till, and how old are you now?
I am 29.
29. Wow, what a nice age.
Yeah. I don't feel 29, but in many ways I still feel like I'm 19. But yeah, so until 29. Yeah. So, but the last time I had that dream was 18. So really between the earliest I can, I think, 'cause I didn't start till I was 7 or 8. So that's the only time I know that I've had it. Maybe before, but at least between 7 and 18 is when I had that, and I haven't had it since.
So you brought that into the room, and the whole feeling of that dream.
Yeah.
What's the atmosphere of it?
I think it's like I guess a kind of a calm foreboding. Maybe. I think, because I think
let me say that, and then see if when I say it, if it sort of touches that.
Yeah.
A calm foreboding.
Yeah, I did. I could feel that a little.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, it's not frantic. It's not like some movie where someone's chasing people or freaking out. There's really no freaking out going on. Yeah. So just bear that. So I don't know. I have no idea what it means. It's just something had for a long time. So and it's the one that I remember the best because I've had it so many times. I think.
Yeah, that could almost be the name of the dream. Calm foreboding.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I never thought about it like that. No one's ever asked me to describe it. Yeah, so. Yeah, so I told my dad about it, I told my brother, and then you. Yeah, so you're, I guess, the
third person.
Yeah, fourth. Yeah.
What was there a different feeling when the dream begins, and there's just that canopy of trees and the birds, and you're looking down on it? Was that?
I think it's a little bit, but it's very slight. It does change. I think the foreboding does ratchet up, but it goes from say a 3 to a 4.5.
So it's foreboding at the beginning too.
Yeah.
Even though there are birds and.
I think maybe it's just maybe just a feeling that maybe things aren't. I mean, maybe it's maybe it's I don't know. It's like a tranquil. There's maybe a suspicious tranquility, maybe that's the way of saying it. Maybe kind of like you see a duck on the water, and it's very calm, it's gliding, but if you go underneath the water, its feet are like paddling,
like
a mile
under
a
the
minute.
surface.
Yeah.
Something is amiss. Something
Yeah.
is
something you can't quantify, you can't really describe, but yeah, something's there. Yeah. And then the bear comes in, and then you figure it out. But yeah.
Yeah. I'm getting that sense of that the duck and under the water, this franticness.
Yeah.
But then on the surface, it seems really calm. And on the surface, everything is under control in a way. There's no screaming, yelling.
Yeah.
But under the surface, there's something
something's
scary.
It's,
right?
it's
Something
gradually making its way.
Yeah, gradually getting more and more dangerous, more and more ominous.
Yeah.
More in your face, more undeniable, more.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I like bears too, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah. Favorite animal's a panda. That's a little different though, I guess. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think it's that. Yeah, I think it is that gradual. It keeps getting the intensity increases to a point where you can't really avoid it. Maybe.
Yeah. What's your association to that car? It's such a specific. That's so interesting, isn't it? That it's such a specific car.
My dad had this Nissan Maxima, but it had a voice in it, so it would talk to you.
Really?
So it would say, I guess they got rid of it because people thought it was creepy or something. As a
like
kid,
Alexa.
Exactly, yeah. But my dad, I loved it as a kid because it would be like, right door is open, or tell you to put your seatbelt on, or it would like you were running low on gas. That kind of stuff. And a light would come on too, but it would have all these things it could say. And I guess as a kid, we would all my friends got a kick out of it too. So we would purposely leave the door open, and then you could just to hear the voice and that kind of thing. So I think my dad liked it too. I thought it was very cool. But so I think that was and that was I think he had that up until I was 5 or 6 actually. Yeah. So I guess my brother was born when I was 5.5, and I don't have any memories of him in the car too. So I think it was afterwards, yeah. And then he bought Volvo. So my dad's a big Volvo fan, and so had Volvo cars, Volvo SUVs after that.
So the car actually, in a way, dates the dream.
Yeah.
Like we know when this scene is taking place.
Yeah.
When you were 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And the car has a feeling of being cool and
yeah.
connected to your dad. That you and your dad are together in it.
I do, yeah. I mean, it's I don't. My dad was traveling a lot when I was a kid. So he lived before I was actually while I was born. He was living. He lived in West Germany for 7 years, then Belgium for a little bit, and then the UK for a little bit, and then came to the States and. He was actually on a flight to Europe when I was born, actually. And so when I was a kid, he would go away for, 3 months at a time and things like that. And so, perhaps there's, some longing or something like that, or desire to, maybe there's some connection with that. I don't know, but yeah.
Just give that a minute, because you're onto something, I think, here. The
Okay.
feeling of that car and the togetherness in it, being in the same car, and the coolness, and other kids really loving that car and it talking to you, and something about a longing for more with your dad, for more.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things where when you're I guess I maybe subconsciously knew this, but when you're I knew that he was going to leave in a certain amount of time, and so I guess any time interaction is only temporary. And which I guess is maybe somewhat different than maybe having your father when he works in the same town or whatever, the person you do, so that you're always going to see them, that kind of thing. So I don't know, maybe the and I know usually whether it's vacation or what have you, when you get towards the end, maybe an experience becomes a little more bittersweet because maybe you realize it's more immediate, that it's coming to an end. So I don't know, perhaps I it makes sense actually, but maybe when I was it's like one of those things, an experience with my dad or whatever, when and then I know that from the inception it's going to end, and then maybe that's the the foreboding or something like that, knowing that it will be over at some point, and then he's going to go away. Yeah.
Let me say that part back and see how it connects inside.
Okay.
Because that's the big clicking in. Like
Yeah.
we can have all kinds of thoughts about something,
Yeah.
but then some thoughts like really sort of
Yeah.
like yes,
Really
that's right.
latch
So
on, yeah.
if I say it and then you say yeah, I do have a feeling
Okay.
of that. So this part is like. That being with your dad in that kind of intimate way, of being on the voyage together, being in the same car, being in the special car together, just the two of you. Always that kind of intimacy had this feeling that it's going to end, that you have to prepare, and that the end is coming.
Yeah. Something I still think about that in a different way. I remember when I was a kid, I saw this commercial. I think it was aimed at more at adults, but it was about how you need to spend time with your parents and say what you really need to say, because they could get hit by a bus tomorrow or something like that. And I remember there's this one woman who was like crying because her father was like grave, and she's like, "Oh, sorry, Dad." And I remember as a kid, even when he would drive me to school sometimes instead of
Your
taking the
father
bus, he would, and I would always try to make sure I like talk to him the whole time. I didn't want to have any silent moments. I think that commercial really did. I mean, in hindsight, it was aimed at other people, but I think at the time I was like, oh yeah, I better make sure I have it. So I think even when I was a kid, there was a sense of urgency, even just talking to him and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
And even now, I think about it. It's like one of the after I finished graduate school, I was 24 and. Going to take a job on Wall Street, but I just really didn't want to do that. And I came home for a lot of reasons, but one of them was to spend time with my parents, because I thought that it's an interesting time. This is where we're going to be most kind of on the same level in a certain sense. And I wanted kind of to have that time, I guess, because I know that my father, it was up to him to travel, but she will not leave that little pocket of Ohio, like ever. Getting her to go to even a different city in Ohio is a big thing. And so I was like, all right, so because I knew that I was going to have to go somewhere else to pursue what I wanted to do. And so even then, I think I took time out, I guess, hurt my career or whatever, but but I wanted to have that time with them. And I have video interviews I've done somewhat similar to
With
this
them?
with my mother would not do it, so I had to secretly audio record some conversations. She will not have conversations about anything. I've learned more about her from my dad, actually, but yeah, I have video interviews with him. I wanted to ask him certain questions because he was a kid in the the 60s, and just what he thought about different so maybe some hard topics like race and maybe the possibility of life after death or something like that. And I have audio recordings. I remember hearing someone who was I guess in their 80s, and they said that they forgot what their parents' voice sounded like. And so I wanted to have that. So I actually do have on an external hard drive back at home like a few gigs of video and audio recording, and then even some notes and reflections I took about talking to. And I think I also had this sense about and I guess to really understand yourself, you kind of need to know who your parents were, understand them as well as you can, and then also the environment you grew up in. Maybe it's kind of a Thoreau, Henry David Thoreau kind of Walden thing about that, but had this sense that I really wanted to know that. And so I don't know, maybe that's connected, but I had this, and I guess now that I've, that was a few years, it ended up being kind of 4 years, and but I kind of feel like, clearly don't want my parents to die at all, but if they did, I think I would have said the things I kind of needed to say, and I think I would have had those conversations.
So this is a further piece here of this urgency that was always there about the shortness of time, and that he would leave, and that in adulthood you really made a sacrifice to be with them, to make sure that you connected and you didn't leave out anything, forget their voice, that you said everything, preparing for separate, like like a feel the foreboding of preparing for separation.
Yeah.
And I guess in a way never being able to just relax into the feeling of continuity and ongoingness.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I think the not being able to relax is something that I've just in general only starting to kind of touch the surface of right now. And I felt like in December, actually, I felt like I had kind of started to kind of do that. I guess be more in the moment, because I'm still thinking about my parents. My mother is not the healthiest person in the world. I think she's kind of a negative influence on the people around her. And just out of, I think, lack of empathy and that kind of thing. But so I'm still constantly trying to get them, because I want them to live longer and I guess prolong their lives as much as they can. They're not in a great place right now, but yeah, I think the thing not being able to relax, I think, that's something that's not just, I guess, just enjoying your parents or my parents, but just kind of in general, I think, with relationships and.
But this
kind of life in
feeling
general,
with them, with both of them in different ways. Like your father was always about to leave.
Yeah.
And your mother has this sort of negative pull that makes you feel like she's leaving in a different way, or she's not fully there. She wouldn't tell you about herself. Or,
100%.
Yeah.
She,
so, Your dad was more there, but then he's about to leave, and your mom has the feeling like she's on her way out, or not really there, or.
I think it's like you just can't. I still to this day think I can't really trust her in a weird way. My father is someone who I know that he's one of those people who, if he says he's going to do something, it's not just myself, but kind of everyone knows he's going to do it. But when is he going to be there to actually? But it's one of those things where she was around all the time, but she's someone who 95% of the time doesn't do what she says she'll do, and so I think I couldn't. From a really young age, actually, like 10, I realized I couldn't trust her to do things, and so I think that there was always that kind of thing, and she's
that feeling of not being able again to sort of relax into the relationship.
Absolutely.
That you can't trust her. You can't.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you can't trust that your dad is going to stay there. He's going to.
Yeah.
You can trust him, but not his being there.
Well, his father died suddenly of a blood clot burst in his brain when he was I was 5, actually. So I think even
oh wow,
and he's told me that, and I think he also made a really big deal about spending time with us, and I always knew that as a kid, but and it wasn't as overt, but I do think that he really did try to spend a lot of time with us. Maybe subconsciously that also came in about wanting to spend time, that kind of thing. I think he's very deliberate about us, because I learned this when I went back home, is that his biggest fear in life is that, because he didn't have a father, that he wouldn't be a good father. And so I think he was very deliberate and very very calm, and he always wanted to be there to listen and that kind of thing. And so but maybe that's some maybe rubbed off kind of on me somehow. So but
that was in there, that this is another big piece there of the trauma of your father losing his father suddenly, and how that impacted on your relationship, where he was also sort of wary about making sure that he connected, because maybe you would lose him, or maybe he wouldn't be a good dad, or
I think it made him very empathetic, though, because I think that's the big difference between the two. He's very empathetic, and his inability to kind of talk with people, like even inner city African American kids, he kind of gets them in an interesting way. Like, and I can kind of see with, like, he used to help some small business owners who were from lower income communities, because he's really big into business, and so he's got those skills that can help them and that kind of thing. And but you can just see that they're connecting, and he would tell me these insights, and I was like, wow, it's actually really insightful. And so he's very empathetic. He's one of those people that you can, and even as a kid, you can kind of relate to, because he never tried to be, he never tried to say, oh, I know exactly what you're going through. I think he's realizing, well, listen, things change. There's some of the core things, interactions between human beings are really maybe not that different from the from Roman and Greek times. The Greek tragedy is still pretty ring true for us. And he's like, listen, cell phones have certainly changed things. He's like, when I was a kid, you had to like actually make plans with somebody you were dating. He's like, you have to call and you have to actually show up there. He's like, you couldn't just, hey, 5 minutes, you want to go somewhere? He's like, that's changed. He's like, but the same awkwardness, the same fears are still there. And so I think that in a weird way, his ability, I noticed this as a teenager, because kids would kind of ask for his advice and that kind of thing, and his by not trying to say I know what you're going through, but just kind of and he's also really persuasive. He's got this. He doesn't really tell people what to do. He kind of will just tell a story about something that he did. But I think what he's really doing is like walking you through his thought process. Because I think that I think anytime you arrive at something yourself, you have a bit of ownership of it and over it, and I think you're more. I think you're more likely to do it than if say someone just tells you to do it. And so I think whether he's like, well, this is how I'm thinking, or let me tell this story about himself, usually making some mistake and then learning from it, but you get to walk through that process, and by the end of it, you end up agreeing with him, even though he never told you what to say, which I also think is a bit of empathy there too as well. And then my mother's kind of the total opposite.
She's not tuned in at
all. She's one of the most unempathetic people I've met. It's all about her and how everyone else, and then she's kind of oblivious to how her actions affect other people. In a way, and so I think those are two big contrasts. And for her, it's not. I don't know. It's about I don't know. She's very about popularity. It's a really big thing with her, and then and also just I don't know. She cares. I think she cares more about. I can have a conversation with her and we can talk for maybe like 45 minutes and won't have actually talked about anything, because her whole goal is just for you to think that you had a good conversation instead of focusing on like actually having a good conversation. It's about that. So I don't know, there's a lot of that kind of stuff, but yeah, so I mean those are some thoughts I have. I've got a lot of reflections over that like period of time that I had, so so there's a lot of stuff there. I mean, I've kind of come through it.
Let's take them in. When you describe your dad, it's like you're really tuned into him and appreciating his way, and the dream is this you being in the same car. It's like being in the same boat. You're together. You are facing this bear together.
Yeah.
This. Yeah. Increasing foreboding together, and you're both feeling it, and you're not showing the anxiety, right?
Yeah.
It's under the surface like the duck.
Yeah.
You're being calm, he's being calm, and you're saying to him, well, go a little faster, but you're not saying go faster, you're saying go a little faster. But you're in it together, and you're both not wanting to be showing the foreboding or the panic or the danger or I mean, when I think about that, really, like there's a bear on the car. I mean, you're in bigger, there's a bear on the car. It's like, we're going to be calm, go a little faster. Yeah. There's this discrepancy, right, between how you're being and this experience. Yeah. And it seems like you're describing something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
I think so. Yeah, you just did that very eloquently. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
What seemed right to you? What seemed eloquent?
No, I think the whole. I think the. I think kind of alluding to this thing about how it's like we're kind of almost like a symbiotic relationship. We're in this together. There's like a degree of trust. I think.
Yeah.
That was there, and because I don't know, he was always somebody who. You kind of earned his trust. He's one of those people who goes out of his way to help other people. Like when we were kids, if we, made some tie-dye shirt in first grade or whatever, he would wear that.
Oh,
even if he hated it, even if it was super embarrassing, he would do we just my brother and I have this clothing line we do for fun. We just called Certified Hoss. We just kind of did it for fun. Noah actually wore some of the stuff to a concert once. It's very cool, but. And we got him a watch, and he's one of those people who I think I think the other person's feelings matters more to him. So even if he hates it, or even if he has a watch that he likes better, he'll still wear it. And it kind of rubbed off on me. Like, this watch, I don't particularly like it. But my brother got it for me, and so he'll see in photos that I'm wearing it, and so I wear this watch. But I don't really, that's that kind of thing. And so, but yeah, he would always do that, those kind of things, and was always kind of putting himself first. And I think he took satisfaction, or I think he learned how to, really enjoy other people enjoying things that I guess he did for them, I guess. And so, yeah, and so I think with him, there's always a sense that he was invested, and I think that my mother and my father have two very different, I guess, views of parenting, or I guess relationships. I think my dad views it as something you have to work at, and you do have a lot of agency or control over your children and how they develop. My mother, I think, is more. I think this is very common in the small town Ohio I grew up in, but it's more of like you just kind of get lucky, You give them this, and then they go off, and hey, it's just up to whoever, up to the fate, I guess. However your kids turn out, I think he took much more ownership.
Quite a contrast.
Yeah, he was always always very big about college, and you have to go to college and all this kind of stuff, and you have to and that kind of thing, but he also gave us leeway, essentially it was like, as long as you don't get in trouble and you do well in school, is like, whatever interest. But he always kind of indulged your interests, never really commented or, said things, if something was maybe not prototypically, cool, or maybe not what, even if it was a little off the beaten path, as long as it wasn't destructive, I think he was always totally fine. I mean, he drove me out when I wrote the first book I wrote was actually when I was in 11th grade, and it was essentially a kind of a essentially Walden, but at this Miami County, the county I grew up in. And he actually drove me out to Walden Pond, actually.
Oh, wow.
One weekend, just so I could go there, and also so I get some bonus points for I turned it in. So we had this project we're supposed to turn in for school, and I just turned in this book, and I got an A. But he was willing to indulge those kind of things, and so if you were interested in that kind of stuff, he was always willing to indulge those kind of. I think maybe because he didn't have a chance to, but. So yeah, I don't know. It was like a bit of a safe space, I guess, and you could. But guided though. But guided.
Yes. And the word you used was he was really invested.
Yeah.
And that comes through
Absolutely.
So much.
Yeah.
When you talk about him, I wish I'd like to meet him. He sounds like such a cool guy.
He's great. I mean, he's still kind of a source that I worry, because he's my mother, I guess, has kind of got her. She's kind of influenced now their lifestyle, and so he's gained a lot of weight, and he doesn't use his mind as much, and they kind of only hang out with her friends, and so I don't know. It's tough to see somebody kind of decline a bit, I guess, and knowing that it's not like some natural inevitable thing. I mean, in the long term, yes, but it's partially because of another person, and the other person's more concerned.
One thing that I'm noticing when we're talking about this dream is that the dream is about your dad, right? But there's this bear, and this foreboding, and there's this contrast of we're talking about your dad, but then there's the contrast of your mom, and
it's a very big contrast.
The negativity and
She would, she's, I guess, one of those people that would, I think it matters more for her standing relative to other people, where my father's one of those people who is, he's very secure because he defines his own success, and, where she is, everything is relative to everyone else. And so, so when I was a kid, she would, often, a lot of times, would say very negative things about him, to the point of maybe he doesn't even love you, that kind of stuff. And so, but it was really just to curry favor with, kids. And, he never did anything like that. And, I remember being very young and like confronting her about it, and that kind of changed our relationship. And it was mostly from my younger brother. And I was like, listen, if you cannot do this to Nicholas, my younger brother. And so in a way, he grew up kind of without that. And I guess ever since then, ever since I was 12, I've always kind of had this view where I have to keep her in check and keep her from her worst things from my brother in a way. And so she's
so you've been the protector.
Yeah.
You've been.
I've tried anyway. I mean, I went back and worked really hard so that he could, because I kind of I wanted him to learn from all my mistakes and go farther. And I wanted him to have access to things that I didn't have access to. And he did. But but at the same time, maybe me not having it, I appreciated it more. And I think he developed maybe not quite the appreciation for it. But and also I think we had a different relationship, and she spoiled him a little more. I think she was willing to buy things for him and do things for him that she wasn't for me. But then later on, I kind of I learned. I guess when I was 14, 15, I didn't understand why, but apparently when she went off to college, her kind of the first thing she'd done alone without her mother, she had kind of a very overbearing father, and her mother had a nervous breakdown and blamed it on her, actually. And so I guess maybe the first time she went off to do something kind of alone, she got blamed for it, and because she's someone who's petrified of doing anything alone, to the point where she almost won't even go get gas by herself or go to the grocery store by herself or really do anything by herself. You have to she's almost mortally terrified of it in an interesting way, and so that made a lot more sense to me. And so I definitely now have empathy, and and I'm not complaining. I don't think she's a terrible person or anything like that. It's just more just explaining. Like I went through a process of trying to figure out why I acted or why I did, or maybe why I developed the way that I did. And so this is a lot of it is just explanations about trying to figure out, well, maybe this influenced me and that kind of thing. So I think she's a wonderful person in her own right, but I just think that I think everyone has problems, but I think that one needs to start keeping it in check when it starts negatively affecting other people around you. And because at least for me anyway, if I have something that's bad, but for me, I would feel worse if it hurt someone else.
Right, and you've had the role of the protector for a long time. But I want to ask you, we're going to need to stop because people will be coming soon.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, in the view of Jean Genlin, whose dream work I have taken a lot of my, my approach from, there's the idea that a dream always has a surprise for you. It's always, something that you wouldn't know, something that it's portraying, sort of like a poem that your unconscious is writing to you.
That.
And
It
has something that you couldn't know in another way.
Yeah.
And so when you think of that, what did we call the title? Something foreboding.
A calm foreboding or something?
Calm foreboding.
Yeah.
And then there was the underneath.
I forget what that was. Yeah.
There's the duck.
Is it a tranquil something or another?
Yes, something.
Like an uneasy tranquility or something
Yes,
like that.
yes. Those are the mood that the dream creates. But then the drama of the dream of this bear, getting closer and closer and maintaining the calm. Is there something that it would be saying to you, that it would be pointing to, that it would be illuminating, that it would be saying, pay attention to this particular way that things have been, and this particular configuration of the family, and of how you feel in it?
I think that the first thing that comes to mind is that maybe this is a bit of recency bias here, that it's going to be, you can kind of relax, it's going to be okay. Even though there's all this danger and this thing maybe is inevitable, it's you should be calm about it, at least, and just enjoy the time there. I guess that's going to be okay. That's just the first thing that I had, that that even though there's this thing bearing down on you, maybe some inevitability or something like that, though it was still a nice ride. The drive was still nice, and so maybe that's it.
Was there the feeling in the dream that it would be okay, or was there a feeling that we better enjoy this because it's not going to be okay?
No, I don't. I think it was the first.
Yeah, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this sort of ominous presence
Yeah.
in this car, but it's going to be okay. It's a kind of reassurance.
I think almost the
Somehow.
fantastical nature of this, bear is gradually getting larger and becomes kind of the size of a skyscraper almost by the time it gets there. And maybe that's that like whatever is going on, or that is greatly exaggerated. That the bear is not really this big, and maybe that it's some sort of fantastical thing that maybe it's going to be calm because maybe I'm exaggerating or focusing too much perhaps on this this thing, I guess. Maybe if you were just to turn around and look out the front window, it actually might not even be there. I don't know, just thought I had. Yeah,
Whoop.
something I'm getting to right away.
I'm going to have to unhook myself.
Oh, no
here.
worries. Yeah, I did really love what you said about the surprises in dreams. I just had this dream with this girl that I'm like.
Wait 1 second.
Oh, totally,
I'll be right back.
totally. Yeah.
Hello. Oh, okay. I'll be down in just a few minutes. I'm just stopping a meeting that I'm having. Okay. Somebody needs me to come down for them in the
Oh,
elevator.
no worries.
I just wanted to finish this last bit here.
I mean that surprise thing. That's something I.
Wait a minute. One
no
second.
worries, yeah.
Okay.
I kind of love.
You love that idea of a dream having a surprise or
Yeah.
a message or something you could not get in another way.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's sometimes it's the not clairvoyance is the right word, but it's sometimes the most clear, precise. I said that one thing about moving to, I don't know, that new to New York. I mean, but then I just recently, a few days ago, actually, she just texted me, but this person we dated for a little bit, but I don't know, it's somebody she's always been in the back of my mind. I was in the back of her mind. We're still really good friends. But in a weird way, I have this like feeling that I'm just going to end up with her. In an interesting way. I don't know, in a certainty that I've never had with anything before. And I just had this dream with, she was in it and everything was great. And, and then she had a kid.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the big surprise in that dream.
That was a big surprise.
So, a child, but it wasn't weird though. It wasn't, I don't know, it just seemed really normal. I don't know, somehow. So,
I think for me, in your dream, the thing that really stood out for me is how the dream painted a picture of something that is very subtle and complex, of a whole way of being, a whole way of feeling that would take so much to write an essay about or to talk about, in an ordinary way, and that dream just gives you such a palpable feeling of that, of the foreboding and the shortness of time, and the preciousness of being together, and the feeling of, oh, stay calm, don't panic here.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay, or
I'd never gone that deep into it before. It was very nice. I don't know. I mean, it was almost like I don't know, kind of watching certain films, maybe like The Bicycle Thief or something like that, or something that, I don't know, you kind of can't, sometimes you can't put your finger on it, you've thought about it,
Yes.
or you just leave kind of feeling a certain way, and you don't really know why, or
yes,
that kind of thing.
yes.
So,
I could feel your dream as a movie. I was picturing this movie,
Yeah, I don't know, maybe that's why I like movies. I don't know, who knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was lovely. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for doing that. Yeah.
We'll do it again.
I'd love to do it again.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got several more to talk about. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to.
I just thought I had. Yeah.
Whoop.
Something I'm getting to right away.
I'm going to have to unhook myself.
Oh, no
here.
worries. Yeah. I did really love what you said about the surprises in dreams. I just had this dream with this girl that I'm like,
Wait 1 second.
oh,
I'll
totally,
be right
totally,
back.
totally, yeah.
Hello. Oh, okay. I'll be down in just a few minutes. I'm just stopping a meeting that I'm having. Okay. Somebody needs me to come down for them in the
Oh,
elevator.
oh, no worries.
I just wanted to finish this last bit here.
I mean that surprise thing. That's something I.
Wait a minute. One
no
second.
worries, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I kind of love.
You love that idea of
I-
a dream having a surprise or
Yeah.
a message or something you could not get in another way.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's sometimes it's the not clairvoyance is the right word, but it's sometimes the most clear, precise. I said that one thing about moving to, I don't know, that new to New York. I mean, but then I just recently, a few days ago, actually, she just texted me, but this person we dated for a little bit, but I don't know, it's somebody she'd always been in the back of my mind. I was in the back of her mind. You know, we're still really good friends. But in a weird way, I have this like feeling that I'm just going to end up with her. In an interesting way. I don't know, in a certainty that I've never had with anything before. And I just had this dream with, she was in it and everything was great. And, and then she had a kid.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the big surprise in that dream.
That was a big surprise.
So, a child, but it wasn't weird though. It wasn't, I don't know, it just seemed really normal. I don't know, somehow. So,
I think for me, in your dream, the thing that really stood out for me is how the dream painted a picture of something that is very subtle and complex, of a whole way of being, a whole way of feeling that would take so much to write an essay about or to talk about, in an ordinary way, and that dream just gives you such a palpable feeling of that, of the foreboding and the shortness of time, and the preciousness of being together, and the feeling of, oh, stay calm, don't panic here, it's going to be okay, or
I'd never gone that deep into it before. It was very nice. I don't know. I mean, it was almost like I don't know, kind of watching certain films, maybe like The Bicycle Thief or something like that, or something that, I don't know, you kind of can't, sometimes you can't put your finger on it as you've thought about it, or you just leave kind of feeling a certain way, and you don't really know why, or
yes,
that kind of thing.
yes. I could feel your dream as a movie. I was picturing this movie,
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's why I like movies. I don't know, who knows? Yeah, that was lovely. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for doing
We'll
that. Yeah.
do it again.
I'd love to do it again.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got several